lifestyle following that humiliating prank at his workplace. Petrol attendant Wiseman got the last laugh. South Africans' spirit of Ubuntu came to the fore with the hashtag 210 for Wiseman to raise money for him. We're now joined by, of course, Wiseman Dabezita, the prankster Pagamani Mbogazi from KwaZulu-Natal, and Dumi Soul, of course, who is the founder of hashtag Country Duty. And for more on this incident that has had the nation talking. Dumi, I just want to begin with you here. I mean, this is certainly, a moment that has gripped social media. We saw Twitter really rallying behind Wiseman Dabezita and even going as far as really supporting him even financially after this video emerged. What about his story touched you the most?
Good evening to the viewers at home, and thanks for having me on the show. I think for me, it's the shock in Wiseman's eyes and the confusion at the time. This is a man who really is humble, and I got to know this of late, but more importantly, where you could tell that he meant well. It was unnecessary for everything that happened to happen, and that's why for me I wanted to get to hear it from him, and more importantly try and restore his dignity together with South Africans, and that's really what stood out for me and why I wanted to contact him.
And to me, of course, you talk about the shock in his eyes, which is really something that even was startling for me when you're really looking at that video. Did he explain to you what then happened, following that particular moment where he was handed 2 10-rand notes?
I think, even now, I mean, how things have happened and how huge this is, he still remains overwhelmed, to be honest. This thing happened in January, as far as I understand now, weeks and months later after our involvement. And what it effectively means is there's just been so many events. This is, for me, someone who has explained, but I spoke to his employer who said this was a very unnecessary event. He took this as a loss, and he allocated as such. And from a factual perspective, what it meant is that was not paid for, and therefore it was recorded as such from the employer's perspective. If we were to talk from an accounting perspective and what this thing means.
And to me, I do understand that we have Wiseman who is waiting to, just talk to us. And of course, this is a big moment for him. Wiseman, kunjani baba ukhuluma noBongiwe la eNews from Africa. Awusithathe usibuyisele emuva ngalelanga kwenzeka lesihlaka lesenzekile. Ubucabanga nje wena ngakho konke?
Okay, ngizoqala ngokubulisa kuqala nakumina ngithi ngiyabulisa nami sisibonge into enzeka la eqaleni kwaku January 4 kuwona lo nyaka lo u2020 kwaku isonto ngo 11:48 isikhathi. So into enzeka lapha ngafika la half umuntu la egarage wathi ezothela petrol wathi ucela ngimfakele u210. Ngambuza ngathi 210 wathi ya, bese ngabuza amanzi ukuthi ngamcheckela amanzi namafutha wathi cha alright, ngathi iwindi namathayi kusalungile, wathi hayi kulungile, wathi angifaka upetrol kuphela, yabo. Hayi mase ngifikile sengijikele ngale endaweni yapetrol sengifaka ngaphinda ngabuza ngathi ngifake u210, wathi ya, hayi ngufake mina lo 210 rand. Hayi mase ngijikela ngale ngakuyena uma senginikeza o10 rand about 2, mina ngibona imali ihlanganisiwe ngitshe mhlambe ihlangene 10 rand phezulu. Hayi mangithi ngiyabheka i2 o10 rand about 2 kuphela. Ngimuni bese ngithi mina 210 athena ya athene mina ngifake malini, ngithi mina ngifake 210 rand. Athene akazi ngawena zakuthi 210 rand, uthena u210 awufunayo. Yabona nje into enzeka lapha aba shocked yangazi nokuthi into engayenza ufuna ngenze njani ngoba kulo mzuzu le wade enza lento le nginami nganginamali. Ngicela ngizofuna kanjani ngitshele kubafowethu la if bengenayo imali umqashi sethatha wages yami yabo ngicabanga kaningi yabo. Hayi bese yabo.
And
athi yabo.
What Wiseman is saying there is that it was January 4th, it was a Sunday, it was 11:48, and he says that he was told to pour 210, and then he thought that this, of course, means 210 rand, and then he ended up, just pouring 210 rand worth of petrol. But then, to his surprise, the man who had requested this, then said that no, in fact, I meant that 210 rands, which would have then meant 20 rand worth of petrol, and he says that at that moment, he didn't even have money. He didn't even know what he was going to be able to do, because then it would have meant that his employer was then going to, then take money from him in order to be able to pay back for this. But I do have the man who was taking that video and was the motorist at that time, Pagamani Mbogazi, who is joining us and has been listening to Wiseman. Pagamani, when you hear what Wiseman is saying, what about that day was really a prank for you? Because when you look at what was happening in that video, he really looked shocked. And I mean, you could see that he was almost in tears.
Sanibona, ngithanda ukunibingelela nje nonke naye umfowethu Wiseman. Yabona kwakuyiprank le ngangidlala kuyena. So ngoba ngathatha ivideo ngingamtshelile ifika nje mina ngafika kahle nje egarage ngacela ukuthi ngicela ungifayile upetrol ungifayile u210. So sakhuluma ke nje okunye waye friendly nje Wiseman kahle nje kwakuwumuntu. So ngase ngabona lokukhuleka kwakhe angeke ngenze something eyomkhombisa nangelinye ilanga ukuthi ufuna ubheke umuntu uma ekhuluma nawe ulalele inkulumo asuke eyishilo, ngoba ngingasho ukuthi 310 anginikeze u30 rand umuntu uthi 150 anginikeze u50 rand. So wangithelela kupetrol ngavula iwindi leli elinga kwi-passenger side kwi-back seat, wabuza futhi eselapho uthi uthe 210. Yes, ngithe 210.
And for you, Pagamani, as you say that this was a prank, and of course you were teaching him to be able to pay close attention to what people that are coming to that filling station say to him. What then, because umuibuga lentole, it didn't really look like a prank. It really looked like ngati ubudlala ngaye, ngati bekukhona ukumdelela ngenxa yomsebenzi awenzayo. Ubaba Wiseman ukulalele njengamanje, ungathanda ukuthini again?
No, like ekumdeleleli ngangamdeleli ngobani iyathi video siphelile ngamkhombisa yona ngoba khona waqhamuka owayengazi wathi hayibo ukhokha wendoda. So ngase ngayipause ivideo ke ngase ngamkhombisa nayo ivideo wayibona wayihleka wacela ukuthi ngicela ngimsendele yona ngamsendela ke yona if kube ngalezo sikhathi mhlambe wayebona ukuthi udelelekile akayithandanga ivideo ngangizoyidelete futhi. Savumelana na ukuthi mfowethu yazi le video le if singayiposta so ungana abantu abaningi abakulandelayo, wavuma naye wathi angiyifake ngingayiposta. So ngangayifaka ndawo ngajoina like uTikTok ngalandela uTikTok. So ngayibona ke noma ngingena efonini yami ukuthi hawu nayi le video uWiseman sazivumelene na ukuthi ngingayisebenzisa. So engakusho njengamanje ngoba ngike ngaya kuyena ngiyibona ngendlela okwenzeka ngayo nama-comment akhomentwa abantu ngaya kuyena umfowethu ukuthi no ngoba ke lento sayikhuluma naye ngizokucela senze enye ivideo esizoyiposta ukukhombisayo ukuthi le mali angizange ngibaleke nayo ngakhokha same time uphele le video le ngendlela eyayiphozekile. Ngambona futhi ukuthi wethukile ngamnika imali ukuthi akathenge udrink ehlisa ukuthuka. If naye mongambuza uzokusho lokho ngamnika imali ukuthi athenge udrink ngoba ngangimbona ukuthi uthukile.
We still continue our conversation with petrol attendant Wiseman Ndabezitha, the prankster Phakamani Mbokazi from KwaZulu-Natal, and Dumisol, who's the founder of Country Duty, for more on this incident, of course, that has had the nation talking. But Wiseman, before ngibuyisa uButumi, who was, of course, umuntu ohlangane naye, wakwazi ukuthi axhubanise ne-South Africa yonke, ekwazile ukuthi xhase during this time. Umlalelile uBut Phakamani uyasho ukuthi this was a prank, uyasho ukuthi uye wafika nakuwe wazoxolisa nakuwe, washo ukuthi wakuthengela ne-drink ukuthi wehlise ukuthuka. Uthini ngalokho akushoyo?
Yeah, kona izolo ufikile la. Kona ne video esishuthile naye. Wachaza nekwenzakalani. And then bese sakhuluma nami ngamchazela ngendlela noma kwenzeka ngayo nendlela engangisuke ngayo yabo. Kona waxolisa sayilungisa lento le sathi ayidlule yabo. But into njengoba kukanjena njengoba nje sithene hayi siyaxolelana ayidlule lento le. Emveni kwalokho angabe sebakhona umsindo, ngizocela nje mawusihlambene lento le kona ngosho umeshayini uthene yena kwakuyinto aying ngoba wabona indlela engangi open ngayo yabo, wathi enefuna ukungiqaphelisa ngokusho kwakhe yabo, uthi ene kona uma uthi uyasebenza kufuna ubuye ubheke noma wenzayo ubheke ngoba into engenzeka yabo, ufuna ulindele noma yini engenzeka yabo. So wathi ene kona bathi wathi bathi engangigebengi ngoba yena ekhokheni wakhokha same day yabo. So lokho akusho lokho drink u10 uthi ene ngehlisa lokuluku ya ngiqinisile impela lapho yabo.
And Wiseman
owenza impela lokho
and
lokho hayi ngiyamxolela.
Okay, but Wiseman, ngizocela ukuthi ungibambele kancane ngoba kunobhudi la okuxhumanise nabo bonke abantu abasebakwazile ukuxhasa uTumi. I'm sure ubulokhu ukhuluma naye nizwana, and what Wiseman has just said there is confirming really what Phakamani has said, that he was saying that he was trying to warn him and you know, really saying that he forgives him, and it is indeed the true reflection of the story. But Tumi, I want to bring you into this conversation. You're listening to Phakamani and him saying the reasons as to why he did what he did. What do you make of it?
I think we need to be frank, right? And not treat this interview as she said, he said type of thing. The bottom line really is Wiseman was embarrassed. His dignity was impaired. And I am glad that South Africans have done what they have. It is not for me. I'm not even getting a cent from Wiseman, but I'm happy how the events have turned out. I also think it's really not befitting for this interview for me to then say, let me call his employer and, you know, find out the other side of the story. It defeats the whole purpose. I had a chat with the employer. He informed me about the events surrounding this, and I take it as such. The long and short of it, and to Phakamani as well, there are lessons in these things. We may well want to trend to videos, but we need to tread carefully. I'm happy with Wiseman's view of saying, and he's a humble guy, right? Forgiving, loving. Let this event, both on Phakamani and Wiseman's side, be a milestone and a turning event in such a way that we start treating customers and garage employees as people together with security guards, and let's really take them serious because they do render a service. And I think, once again, without it being an interrogation, let us do better as South Africans. And thank you to Nzansi, who have heeded the call to assist Wiseman in these circumstances. And I really do hope that Phakamani has learned a lesson and he can do better next time.
Phakamani, usifundile isifundo sakho njengoba uButumi esho.
Hayi ngisifundile ngoba like kahle mina ngumuntu othandayo ukudlala yabo, so ngoba sasibukile ivideo naye umfowethu sayihleka, so yakona ke isifundo lesengisifundile ukuthi like ezinye izinto kumele ubuye ungazivezi isinomi kanjani yabo. Kodwa ke nje ngisifundile isifundo ngoba kona ngangaqondile okubi mina ngalokho engangikwenza and umsebenzi wakhe ngiyawuhlonipha. So kwakuyijoke, sahleka sonke lapha, naye wazi wahleka. Wayithanda futhi ivideo wacela ukuthi angimsendele. Ukube wengayithandanga wayengekho happy, kwakufuna asho mfowethu cha ngicela uyidelete.
Kodwa understand ukuthi mhlamba akakwazanga ukusho ukuthi akayithandi ngoba umuntu obukeke phansi, umuntu ongabukeke ethanda impi, and ngalesi sikhathi eyithola kuso wayenamahloni yalento eyayiqeda ukwenzeka kuyena. Uya understand kodwa ukuthi mhlambe wayengeka asho kuwe ukuthi angiyithandi mfethu ngoba uyicustomer and uyakusaba.
Ya kona kungenzeka kube kanjalo, kona futhi kuyiqiniso lokho. Ikona ngibuyelile kuyena ngazama ukuthi lento asike siyilungise ngendlela ngobani ngendlela esikukhulumeka ngayo kuningi yabo, ukuze ngingabi nami engazuthi ngaba umuntu omubi engangikwenzile, ngangenza okubi. Ngakwenza kona okwenze ngamrecorda ngingakhulumile naye, ngamkhombisa kube futhi wesho ukuthi mfethu ngicela uyidelete, hayi ngangizuyisusa, ngangeke imphikise.
And Pagamani, they're saying that, he didn't intend to really do something bad to Wiseman in this particular instance. And he says that he didn't intend, he didn't have any evil intent. It was just merely a prank because he's a jokester. But Tumi and Wiseman, ngingathanda ukuthi ngikhulume nani nobabili. But Wiseman, ungathanda ukuthini kuTumi because uTumi wuye umuntu okwazile ukuthi athinte impilo zabantu abaningi ngodaba lwakho ngevideo yakho, and akwazi ukuthi athole abantu abaningi bakwazi ukuthi bakuxhasa kalendlela bakuxhase ngayo kulesi sikhathi samanje.
Sisi into engayisho nje into yokuqala uTumi ufuthi uTumi hayi indoda cha, bona ngizothanda nje ukubonga nje kakhulu kuyena ngoxhaso nje angixhase ngalo, bese ngibonga eSouth Africa yonke ebengakulami side yabo, yangisiza lokho ngikona nje through eSouth Africa, through uBudidome. And bese ngibonga nje kakhulu naso istaff sakhona la egarage esingisaphothile, ubona zakwethu laba bonke nomqashi wami obehleze engakulami side, noma kuthiwa kwenzakalani kuthina le garage uyikho konke yabo, umuntu understandayo. So siyamthanda thina umqashi wethu yabo. So uBudidome ngithole umngani lapha kuyena. Budidome ngiyabonga kakhulu mngani wami, ngiyabonga uNkulunkulu akubusise nawo bonke abangisaphothile bonke kulo kade kwenzakalile. And ngoba yonke indawo lapho engihamba khona mina bengihamba ngebhayisikili, noma ngihamba nebhayisikili uthole endleleni imoto eshama uthi pip 210 yabona nje kukanjani even nangasekhaya yabo. So kwesikhathi ngize kwasanami ngize ngibuye ngisho hayi le video le sasishuthe nomngani wami, kwamanje ngiyabona manje sengathi khona ukuphoxeka lo ngathi mhlambe mina mhlambe ngumuntu mhlambe noma mhlambe umuntu obhayizayo something noma umuntu engasilo something ngoba khona lokho yabo. So ngoba manje yonke indawo bangihleka yabo. So manje kwathi uma sekwenzeka nje lokho kuphatheka kabi naloko ngoba noma ngambike umama yena ngambikeleleke ngindlela kwenzeke ngayo uma yena okakhalayo, kodwa ke leyo nto leyo silungisile naye konke kwa right yabo. So nje ngiyabonga kakhulu uBudidome nomhlaba wonke ongisaphothile.
And of course, that's Wiseman there saying that he is really grateful to Tumi and South Africa for really rallying behind him. And he says that, even sometimes when he's riding his bicycle, people do, they hoot and they say 210. And that, of course, is the number of, that has been made popular, that hashtag there. If you watch the video, Pagamani says that he wants 210. And now, Tumi, you've listened to what Wiseman has said to you. How do you feel?
Once again, this is not my glory or anything. I think I want to extend my gratitude to South Africans. They did this. They also ensured that you, as Newsroom Africa, get hold of Pagamani and hear his side of the story. He's expressed his remorse. Wiseman does forgive him. I'm not to stand in a way and say there's no forgiveness in this. again, there are lessons in this. I think as South Africans, over and above Pagamani, we can do better. Tip your petrol attendants, tip your domestic workers, do best, and let's hold on each other. And particularly so as Black people, we, in the past week, have dealt with very sensitive issues relating to race relations in the country. And I think if we were to come together, we remain a force. We are a force, and we can change the status quo in South Africa. So thank you to you, News on Africa, for elevating this particular story, and Wiseman in particular, and treating him with dignity. I applaud the fact that it was not rushed that we speak in English or otherwise for Wiseman. He was able to articulate and say how he feels in his home language, and this emphasizes for me the Africanism and Africanity in what your channel stands for. So thank you. And to Pagamani, who's listening as well, thank you, brother, and do better next time. Let us keep motivating people and making a change in this country.
And of course, I do understand we've got Pagamani back, who has, of course, we had lost for a short while. But Pagamani, if I can just also wrap this conversation with you, Uput Wiseman, and he has moved on. Would you like to also extend, your own request for his forgiveness, and also share with South Africans ukuthi ufundeni ngalesi sehlakalo?
No, ngiyabonga kakhulu if nobhuti Wiseman engixolele ngoba ngile umfowethu kuyena sakhuluma naye ngaxolisa kuyena. Ngithanda ukuthi ngixolise eNingizimu Afrika ukuthi kwenzeke lesimo lesi kube isifundo nakomunye umuntu ngobani like inhloso yami ukuthi ngifundise nasekugcineni ukuthi nabo abafowethu abasebenzayo ufuna abaqaphele ngoba kuyofika umuntu ongekafani nami ongekakhokhe oyofike athi ngenzela ukuthi aqeda azihambela athi ngithe imali engaka aqeda azihambela ngoba like ngangesona isigebengu ngengangikwenza ngangidlala nomfowethu kodwa ke futhi kwafika ngenye indlela kuyena kwangaba ukuthi ngiyadlala kuyena kodwa ke ngicela ukuthi nje angixolele kakhulu ngoba ngise umuntu obuya ofikayo khona lapha ngifuna uma ngiqhamuka angixwaye no ngicela nje ukuthi siphinde sibambisane.
Ngithanda ukuthi nginibonge kakhulu ngethuba lenu namhlanje. But Wiseman, siyakubongela kakhulu ngalesi sehlakalo esenzakele, of course, ukuthi nawe ukwazile ukufunda lokhu okufundile kulesi sikhathi samanje. Sibonge kakhulu isikhathi sakho sinikeze sona namhlanje ntambama. We really appreciate your time. But Pagamani, I also want to thank you for being brave enough to come forward and to give us a sense and understand ukuthi ubuyenzelani lento obuthi uyayenza njengoba usho ukuthi kuwe bekuwumdlalo. And to me, thank you so much for your time tonight. Ila sizogcina khona ngiyabonga kini kakhulu, and that's of course Pagamani Mbogazi from KwaZulu-Natal, Wiseman Dabezita, and Tumi Soul. And of course, this is a story that has South Africa talking when it comes to Ubuntu and really what South Africa has done for Wiseman, rallying behind him like that. And if